Okay, class. I have to be gone today. I'm still dealing with an emergency with my mother. So, just to kind of get you started, I'm going to do just a quick review because both classes, first hour and second hour, are in a little different place with each class. So, here's just a quick overview. Remember, we talked about demographics and how that has an appeal. Today, I'm going to talk about terms you need to know, what UX UI is, and I'm going to talk about your assignment and make you think about what you want to do and how you might make it look. Give you a couple lessons to watch, and then when I come back on Tuesday, I am going to install Adobe Dreamweaver for each one of you, and away we're going to go. So you're going to be your own web designer. And remember, I need you to have your drive folders cleaned out. Make sure that the stuff that you want to be in your portfolio is in your portfolio, and that you have clearly created a folder called web. Okay? Hang on just a minute. It's not one, it wants to review. So, okay. So remember things that you need to know, terms that you need to know. You need to know what HTML is and how it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's the basic building blocks of the web, and that Tim Berners-Lee basically created the World Wide Web with the concept of beyond HTML, but it's just part of his work. So we know that that's what makes a website. We remember when we looked at the background behind websites? Yeah, that's what HTML looks like. Code is actually when you have something symbolic representing something else, and so that you're able to communicate between devices or between from a computer to some outside source or whatever it works. It's anything that represents and allows communication to happen. Other nerd terms, FTP. It's a standard network protocol used to copy a file from one place to another. Big fancy language. It's a way of transporting files via the internet in their complete entirety. So if I design a website on my computer and I want to move it to a server that's not on my, connected to my computer directly, except via the web, I can use FTP, or a file system that moves my stuff from one place to the next. A server is a computer system set up to broadcast. And yes, you need a server if you're going to design a website. And a domain is your address. So you can put stuff on a server, but nothing's ever being broadcast officially because it doesn't have a name and identity. Favicon. A favicon is just a little pixel representation of your branding or your marketing for your concept or your site. Now, you guys aren't going to make those, but I want you to know what they are and what they look like when it comes to understanding how a web works. Now, this is really important stuff. A banner is the most, it's the way you attract people to your site, and it's usually across the top because it's what allows visualization to happen. So when we look at a page of a book, our eyes are trained to start at the top and then go from left to right. That is the way we learn to read, guys. It's part of reading, is training your eyes to always start at the top of the page and then go from left to right. So a banner is almost always at the top. Sometimes it might be not exactly at the top, but it's going to be towards the top so our eyes are drawn to it. It's what represents the site and is the site unification. So it's the thing that makes the entire site work under one theme, right? A navigation bar. We need those along the top or on the bottom or along the left because that's where our eyes go. It's what allows us to navigate between pages within a site. So for example, you have on the opening page, you might have other links that will guide us through other information for the person who's on the site. Keywords. Now, when we start building a website, one of the things we learn about are keywords, and those are terms that are built into a website and pages that allows them to be navigational or found. So basically, when you build a website, you tag words so that a web browser or a crawler will identify those words. And when people are looking up those words, your site can be brought to them. It's what allows your site to be found by the user. That's called search engine optimization. If you build a website and you don't create keywords so that people can find your site, hey, you're not going to have any business. Controlled management systems, or CMS. Those are sites that write code for you. They basically are, they create templates and ways for you to build sites in a really usable format. We're actually going to build one of those as well. But we're going to begin with Web Basics and HTML first. So the program that we're actually going to use is called Dreamweaver, and it's an Adobe product. Now, there are lots of other web creating software or applications or other things that you can use that are free or less expensive. But Dreamweaver is kind of the behemoth. It's kind of the it's the format that many website users use, because it works interactively with Photoshop, Illustrator, and other web designing applications, software that work all in one kind of uniform way. So if you notice across the top, you have Dreamweaver, you have Create New, and notice some of your terms: HTML, Cold Fusion, PHP. These are all terms within language. Notice that you also have something called JSP, which is JavaScript prompt, and CSS, which is cascading style sheets. And all of those sound like foreign language right now, but please know that that information is for people who really get into this. We're going to start with the basics of stuff. Okay, and we're going to stop there and actually go on and talk about things that I need you to see in addition to. So with that in mind, we're going to talk a little bit today about actually designing a website. So let's look at a website that you are familiar with. As you can see, Nike is so large and global, it has actually targeted its market uniquely for each area. And let's just go look at Africa's, for example. Oh, they want us, oh, they're marketing. Oh, okay, gotcha. They won't let you go there unless you're actually there. And it's not moving. What's the dang deal? Okay. Oh, they even want you to pull it lower. Okay. So here we are, Nike website. And I want you to look up here. You see, if you notice, do you see how you've got the domain? And then you've got these backslashes. Those backslashes for a website builder tell us how that website is built. But what you guys need to know is that this thing is the favicon. This thing up here is the title of the site. And this is the navigation bar, as you can see it. And then if you notice, as I touch the navigation bar, we have what's called a drop-down menu. Okay, that means as I roll my cursor along the navigation bar, it gives me drop-down options, which helps me navigate the site. So this is all part of the navigation system. If I pull my cursor off so that you can actually see the entire site, the video that's running is part of the banner. And as you can see, everything is really visual here with the website. And when you get to the bottom, we have probably information that people need to see, but not as significant. It gives me an identity. It gives me another navigation bar along the bottom of basics. But I want you to see how the social media is also tied to this, how they have a Twitter, Facebook, YouTube account, and Instagram, all that you can follow when you want to connect with the company. All right? And that's all part of the navigation design. But I want you to see how unique that it looks and how this loads really quickly and runs smoothly without any buffering. And that's critical for any kind of design. So that's what the website actually looks like. Notice also that they have no gutters, that it runs from margin to margin. It fills 100% of the page. And you're going to see a lot more websites that do that because the website itself actually pays attention to the type of browser you use when you come to the site and adjusts itself to fit your browser. Or if you're on a mobile device, it will fit itself to that. So it is designed to be interactive, to be this visual, and based on whatever device you happen to be on. So let's take a look at how that beginning to do this, what you would actually want to do if you wanted to build your website. Okay, so I'm actually going to let some really wonderful professional people talk to you about UX UI. And here's a really good definition of what that is going to look like.
Doing user experience design, every time you ask yourself the question, can this be easier? It begins by putting yourself in your user or your customer's shoes. So one of the words that user experience designers talk about a lot is empathy.
I always put myself in the shoes of users. I always think from their perspectives about what they need, how I can help them to solve their problems. So by solving their problems, I am also helping the business to grow.
As a marketer, it's beginning in that place. And that's really the start of any good product building experience, and it's really the beginning of any good design process, is to ask yourself, what do my customers need? What are their pain points? And how as a business can I help them sort of overcome an issue they're having today?
Everything they see and every feeling they have with your product, with your promotion campaign, it's all user experience.
Results of good user experience can have a huge impact. Some popular examples of this are the success of Uber, of Airbnb, and of Apple. But you don't have to live here in Silicon Valley or wear a black turtleneck to care about UX. Good news is that if you're already thinking about questions like, how does someone experience my product? Is an experience easy, right? How does the experience differ for someone who might not speak the same language I do, or belongs to a different age group, and so you're thinking about questions of accessibility, then you're already thinking about user experience. So welcome to the club.
Okay, so user experience can be, as far as design, happens in lots of things like products as well as websites. When you're talking about websites, there's really some great basics. So I want you to kind of pay attention to this and think about how they define those basics from this video.
Alright, here we are with the basic elements and principles of visual design. Although visual design on the web can be incredibly complex, all web designs boil down to 6 basic elements: lines, shapes, color palette, texture, typography, and form. Lines help define shapes, they divide sections, they create separation, and they typically have length, width, and direction. Here on this screen, we can see a basic example of a line. I know it sounds silly and pretty elementary, but still it's important that we overview these simple concepts. Shapes are self-contained areas composed of lines, values, color, and texture. All objects are composed of shapes. Here on the same website, we have another example of a shape, and it is composed of the white lines, and it's filled with a simple color. Color palette differentiates shapes and items. They add depth and emphasis, organize information, and evoke emotion and feeling. So here on the Shakers website example, we have 3 main colors used in the scheme. We have the orange in the header and navigation, we have that purple-blue color in the This Week's Hours, and then we have that green color in the bottom for the grid-based latest news, event calendar, and trending sections. Texture gives illusion of how a surface feels. It doesn't necessarily have to be a real texture like dirt or paper, and is used to either attract or divert attention from content. So in this Shakers example again, we have a muted texture to create focus on the main content. So on this page here, you can see that the colors on each of the sections, from the hero carousel to the this week's hours and the latest news sections. On the left and the right side of those sections, the colors are muted to focus the content in the center. Typography. This includes fonts, size, color, spacing, and alignment. Again, with the Shakers example, you could see a simple heading, a subheading, and body, and these conventions are carried out through the rest of the website. Form gives the illusion of three-dimensional objects. They add depth and texture to create a 3D object and are used to accentuate a message or to provide visual appeal. Again, with our Shakers example, we have some three-dimensional text and a 3D graphic just to make this otherwise flat design, which is intentional, to have a little bit of depth. There are 7 principles of visual design, and while there are no official industry standard rules for visual design, because the beauty of a design purely depends on the eye of the beholder, there are a set of widely accepted guidelines or principles when it comes to visual communication, and the basic principles boil down to the following 7. Balance, rhythm, proportion, space, dominance, hierarchy, and unity. Balance is the arrangement and distribution of objects to create meaning. It can be symmetric or asymmetric. In this case, saltsurf.com, you can see balance between the surfboards on the left side of the screen and the description of the surfboards on the right. Rhythm is the repetition of elements and creates movement and can establish pattern and texture. Here with saltsurf.com, we have rhythm in the products on their online store. Proportion is also known as scale and demonstrates how each item relates in size. Here with the Apple website, we have proportion with the 4 different varying iPhone models, from the iPhone 6 Plus, which is gigantic, versus the iPhone 5S, which looks puny in comparison. Space is also known as white space and is used to reduce noise, clutter, and increase readability within a design or a website. So here with the Apple homepage, you can see a lot of white space being used to accentuate the new MacBook. Dominance is the focal point achieved through size, color, shape, and so on and so forth, and is used to communicate the primary message. Here again with the homepage of the Apple website, the new gold MacBook obviously has dominance over this page. Hierarchy differentiates primary and secondary focus and is achieved through size, color, and placement. With google.ca's webpage here, the primary focus is very clearly the input field where you can start searching. Secondary focus are the buttons, and the tertiary focus is the option to toggle the language to French. Unity is the big picture of a design, how all elements are related or unrelated, and the grouping of similar elements, so basically everything put together. Here with saltsurf.com, we have space in the header and throughout the rest of the page, dominance with the hero carousel, in this case the Salt Mod Fish surfboard, and secondary info, which are grouped together because they are related, which is the description of the board, the process, and how to order this surfboard. Alright, makes sense? Let's move on to the next lecture.
Okay, so let's talk about what I need you to think about. I mean, because that all is kind of maybe boggling and overwhelming, but here's what you got to think about. When you are designing a website, you want the user to have a good experience when they're there, and it should be visually similar. This is not about shock and awe. This is about making something beautifully simple. And as in all things that are not necessarily simple, it takes effort to do that. So let's go to this week's homework lessons. This is on, for you guys, it's on the homework wiki. Notice the speed of our server today. So here's what we're doing. Today we're doing this. Tomorrow we're going to install Dreamweaver and actually begin your website, and then you're going to be working on it this week. We do not have school on Friday because of parent-teacher conferences. But let's talk about your assignment. So the big thing is that we're going to create a multiple page website. And it's going to begin with what's called the splash page or the home page. Splash meaning the page that you arrive to on first opening the site itself. That page should have a clear banner. That banner needs to be the thing that unifies your website because it's at the top of every page. It needs a navigation bar, meaning a way to move between the pages on your site. It needs your own narrative that you write. It needs live links to outside websites beside what's inside your site. And it needs images, pictures, okay? Images or pictures. Now, I'm going to specify that those images do not have to be all your own. Because we're not going to publish this, I'll let you use some things from the internet. But keep in mind, if you were actually building a website, everything would be created on your own, okay? Second page, you need to have at least two. Second page needs a link to the first, and it actually needs to work, and it needs to have detailed content. Things that will make your website do well. First, consistent use of fonts. This is not crazy font land. You should not change lots of different fonts. Remember, it's about keeping things simple and clean. Titles and headings need to be consistent. You need to understand capitalization, what you capitalize, and when you do it. Images need to be controlled and edited, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Links and text need to work. Colors and styles need to be consistent, and you should have balance and appearance. You want to really wow me, add video and other content. Show me what you got, people. So let me see if I can go find you a website that might be something that let's see if I can find you something good. I think I kept Nell's. Maybe I didn't. Okay, maybe no. Let me go look for a website from last year. I'm wondering if I have any websites that we've kept. Oh man. Well, maybe I'm not going to show you a website from the past. I think I've kept some and maybe some of my examples. So yeah, Mrs. Dink, obviously unprepared to show you a website at this point. I do try to keep stuff from students from the past so that you can see them, but I will try to dig some of those up so that you can see them later. Biggest thing is, here's what you have to decide on before I see you again. One, what's your web page going to be about? What's it going to be about? To be honest, as long as it's school appropriate, you can do websites on anything. And the reason I was going to show you Nels is he did an entire website on potatoes because he loves potatoes. So that's what he did his on. You can do it on just about anything. Your hobby of collecting rubber bands, your interest in oh gosh, maybe you have a love-hate relationship with reality television and you want to do it on that. You want to tell me the secrets of being a great shopper, whatever that happens to be. For me, I might do it on nerd stuff or great books I've read or movies that I've kind of followed or other things. I mean, it's just pick a topic. I guess that's, if you can have a topic that you want to do your website on, we're going to be good to go. And you kind of know what you've got to have here. And our lessons are going to be included. So you were supposed to watch lessons 1 and 2 for me. Let's watch lessons 3 and 4. So when I see you again tomorrow, we're going to install Adobe. We will get you started with web building, and I may have a quick little lesson on how to modify images. Maybe one of the things you could do to kind of get ahead is look for images that you might want to use for your website. And if you are really wise and you're doing your website on, let's say potatoes, oh gosh knows. Let's say I'm doing mine on let's do. And I'm going to look for images. Remember my advanced tools. I can actually pick out what kind of stuff I want. And maybe if I want some vector images for, because I'm going to do mine on computer stuff, I want to look for images that have what I call a vector quality. Do you see how the background of this image, if I might use it for a website, has this transparent, it looks like a checkerboard pattern? That actually means it will fit or blend, this content will blend into any color kind of background. That's a great thing to have, because when you actually design vector graphics, that's what you're looking for. So if you decide to get a jump start on this and go find some graphics for your future page, that's what I'm going to recommend. And that's the end of today's talk from me. I want you to now go and watch lessons 3 and 4. See you tomorrow.